The foundations of adaptive management are rooted in the understanding that all systems, whether they be ecological systems or human-centric systems, are complex and adaptive. In essence, adaptive management is a deliberate process of learning by doing and tailoring management actions to what has been learned. Adaptive management is a perpetual learning cycle that takes two key forms, active and passive. Active adaptive management may involve the manipulation of ecological processes to test a system's threshold or how it may respond to disturbances. Passive adaptive management relies on monitoring natural processes to assess and manage for resilience. There are many iterations of how adaptive management works, but they all follow the same cycle. Assess, design, implement, monitor, evaluate, and adjust. Let's consider adaptive management in relation to the rehabilitation of the critically endangered Regent Honeyeater. These birds once inhabited almost a third of Australia, ranging from Adelaide to the Pacific Ocean and well up into Queensland. Now their population is estimated to be around 300 to 400 individuals. The decline has been largely attributed to land clearing and fragmenting woodland habitat, not made easier with increased competition from non-native species like European honeybees and noisy miners. There are many adaptive management practices evident in relation to the Regent Honeyeater case study. Research has been done into the most effective ways to monitor the species as it is so nomadic, informing future surveying and management techniques. The strategies listed in the species recovery plan follow the basic adaptive management cycle we discussed earlier. Probably the most intriguing example of adaptive management regarding the Regent Honeyeater, however, came as a result of monitoring captive bred birds both during captivity and upon their release. It was observed that captive bred Regent Honeyeaters display atypical versions of their wild song. This is not an evolutionary or natural adaptation, but one that would not have occurred outside of captivity. This variation in song could be a detriment to the species' recovery, as captive bred birds would not possess a typical bird call or song used to attract a mate. Keepers at Taronga Zoo initially introduced additional wild-caught adult Regent Honeyeaters into captivity with the juveniles to encourage song development. However, this was deemed ineffective, as the wild song was drowned out by the sound of fledglings. Keepers adapted to this challenge by recording the wild song and playing it into the enclosures of the captive birds. Recent study confirms that these tutored Regent Honeyeaters have a greater chance of surviving upon release from captivity. Adaptive management strategies are indicative of growth of knowledge and are possible as a result of careful monitoring and evaluation. As complex adaptive systems have the capacity to adapt to change, so too should the management strategies applied within them. This is precisely why adaptive management is an improved method of managing systems, particularly ecological systems. This is perfectly represented by the Regent Honeyeater keepers at Taronga Zoo. Through careful monitoring, they noticed change in the form of birdsong and were able to adapt their tactics in order to maintain their objective of captive breeding for the purpose of reintroduction.